Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case, focusing in on a few discrepancies from what one member of the general public has claimed and then what's been stated by Jack Newton himself when it comes to the phone ping situation. I've already done a few analysis on phone pings, not with specific points or times, but just the theme of the environment, the location. And it wasn't that long ago I did a map analysis on the possibility of quality of phone pings in response to the Supiana, can't even get the bloody words out, by Noah's family in terms of police with the evidence that they've collected, timestamps, geofence data and all that being handed over. What are you really expecting to get out of it? If partygoers were in a certain place with or without their phone, you might get different varying levels of information. It might be rich, it might be underwhelming. If some people are in possession of their phones, but they've got the phones turned off, pings, data, location service not being used, not really going to tell much. So it might help some, it might be detrimental to others. But what's the big deal about Jack Newton and what's still going on there? Because I'm sure when I did my video, I don't know if it was Tim Daniel or somebody else that may have commented on it in the section of the comments or the live chat about where the ping was really at, that it wasn't at the highway or near Noah's body. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, but I'm sure I saw Jack Newton, like from a screenshot messenger, referred to it as the highway, and the police wanted a polygraph done to see what was going on, to set the record straight, and Jack thought it was a good idea and then was told later the reasoning behind the inaccurate ping. But based on what Tim Daniel has said, a different location, I will acknowledge that as a map analysis and just analyse how much does it impact the case, does it change anything drastically or not, does it add an extra level of depth or what, and so on. If you'd like to check my previous videos out that I've done in recent time, all very important and deep, all very pretty quiet, you'll be able to find them top right corner where the eye symbol is up there with the full playlist. Be sure to leave your thoughts and comments down below today as to what you think the situation is and whether it impacts the case or not. If you've got any questions or answers. And if you want to support my channel, below there is a pinned message with a link to PayPal, mine, and channel membership. With that being said, the order of how we'll do things, we'll take a look at the post, the screenshots which have been attached with what Tim says compared to what Jack has said. Then we'll go on to the comment section. Don't know if I'll look at all of it because I'm sure there's about 200 comments and I think that'll take a bit too long. Then apply it to a map analysis, and if there is time and if there is need, I'll look at some additional comments. With that being said, let's begin. Let's start off with Tim Daniel's comment in a post. Don't know how much of this I've seen before. Maybe it's some of the wording which has been on my channel at some point. Let me zoom in a bit because it's a bit small. Tim Daniel said to Danielle Castle. Now, we have done a video just recently with Danielle Castle's post, but I don't know if it's from the same one. Nevertheless, Tim says to her, "This is false information. Jack Newton's phone did not ping where Noah Presgrove was found at in regards to the highway. There is one admin on the army group that keeps repeating this lie." Who is that admin? Is it Justin Roy? Someone else? Jack's phone pinged in the back field during the side-by-side wreck whilst Noah was alive. That's news to me, and we'll be applying that to the maps. Not on the road, not anywhere near where Noah was found. Jack Newton passed a lie detector test. No matter how many times this is corrected, that other group admin doesn't correct the statement. Can I ask where you heard that untrue rumour? What is your source for the fake Jack ping statement? The only thing to date that anyone can point to that changed was when Jack corrected his sleep time and he complained that he had changed it after seeing that the bathroom photo was at 1:50, so he corrected his sleep time to be as accurate as he could. Okay, so Jack has made a correction to do with that, but has Jack made a correction to what he originally said? in regard to the ping and the highway. Well, we'll get to that shortly. Another slide here. Is it a different one? Part of the same thread? And place where the ATV accident happened whilst Noah was still alive, which is over a mile from where Noah was found. So, in terms of the ATV accident, Jack Newton had said it happened round the back, the pasture, and that's what Tim's supposedly suggesting here. As for the ping, a mile away. They told him the tower pings were not accurate, and the bad reception is likely why it looked like his phone was in the field. So he eagerly and voluntarily took a lie detector test and passed and was cleared. According to what Robin said that Ellie told her, Jack is not currently and has not been a suspect after he took that lie detector. LE is not investigating as a murder. Not sure why it's so hard for everyone to take law enforcement's words on these things. The early tower pings were later clarified with more accuracy from GeoNet, which is whatever are precise. Jack had not been interviewed in well over a year, as far as I know. Let's stop with the rumour mill. I don't know why people circle key pieces and then block out all the other text. It's a bit messy, but it's interesting this. I don't know if there's a bit of a cross-conflict of confusion. Before we go any further, let's just see what Jack had said in the first place. And it's probably a bit too hard to read because of the quality. It's a bit blurry, but I will read it out to you. On the left is Jack Newton having a conversation with possibly Justin Roy. So what do we have here? On the right-hand side, an individual said, that doesn't help us because 2 people ping around the area Noah was found, as in the highway, and I wish I knew which 2 people were involved or not. Jack says, so that's just a rumour going around. Only 1 phone pinged around Noah at all. Right, so who created the rumour about a second phone ping? Why would anyone do that? Was it through Chinese whispers? Was it done through manipulating a false narrative? How does it benefit the case? How does it benefit the individual or group that's pushing a rumour like that as a fact? Jack seemed to have cleared it up here, at least, but he does acknowledge that at least 1, and only 1, more so, phone pinged around or near to Noah. There seems to be a screenshot there, maybe of a comment section where it was stated, maybe the rumour, but I can't read it. 1 or 2 people, who were they? Jack says, and it was my phone, and that's why I wanted to go up there and clear it up. And they said, just because my phone had bad service is probably why my phone showed me over there in the field behind where Noah was found. That's why I took the polygraph, and the Texas aren't involved yet. Texas Rangers. I wish they were. They're investigating but won't tell anything until it's close-cased, and someone must have been near that area. I need to find out who. They told me it was only my phone. Interesting. So maybe the interpretation of literally on the highway, incorrect. Okay, fair enough. But on the field, well, that's the thing. You've got the field, then you've got the pasture. And I think the field is fenced off to some extent with a gate or an entry point near to the party house. So you kind of got 2 patches, a small pasture, back garden of the party house, and then onto the field. And from how it's worded here, just to make sure there's no misunderstanding, my phone showed me over there in the field behind where Noah was found. In the field behind where Noah was found. Right, we'll try and map that out on Google to get a better understanding. Bad phone service. So it falsely, inaccurately showed Jack on the field, even though he wasn't on the field. And let's just compare that to Tim Daniel. Jack's phone did not ping when Noah was found. Well, Jack's phone pinged near to where Noah was found because Jack says it here. Right, only one phone pinged around Noah. To be around Noah means to be near to Noah. To be behind Noah, as in the field, means you're close to where Noah was at. Not that that's literally the case, but that's how the phone ping came across. So there would have been questions. So I think there was just a slight little misunderstanding to an extent, but to mention about Jack's phone pinging in the back field during the side-by-side rollover. That's an interesting time. We don't really know the time of the side-by-side rollover, but Jack is using his phone at that time. Where? For it to give an inaccurate ping on the field area. Take in mind the field different to the pasture. The side-by-side occurring at the pasture and not the field. Okay. So I just wanted to double check. I think what we'll do now is just check the comment section on Facebook just to see if anyone else has misunderstood it or seen it in an alternative way. Before we get to the comment section, there was a caption by the poster. It was Tracy one day ago, so I'll just read it out first just to see their interpretation. In response to Tim, seems to be privy to quite a bit of information on the case that most don't know and haven't heard. I think we can all agree on that. Tim said to me in a comment that Jack's phone pinged in a field during and where the side-by-side crash happened. No, the side-by-side crash happened at the time of when supposedly Jack's phone pinged in the field, near to the pasture, but onwards north, closer to behind, interpreted from Jack's statement of behind where Noah was found on the highway. So I will put like a marker on the map just to show the interpretation. You know, you got to interpret it from what Tim says within reason to what Jack has said, and it's kind of following the same pattern as in Jack says field, Tim says field, Tim's simply relaying what Jack has got at. The only thing that stood out to me, which was new, was the timing. Well, not the actual time, but just the timing of the side-by-side event and Jack being, what, present? Well, that's open to interpretation. Because like what Jack says, phone pinging in the field, but that was inaccurate, bad signal, bad service. So at the time of when that was all going on, Jack was on his phone or using it possibly, but as to where he actually was, that didn't seem to be explained. Let's just continue on, right? Side-by-side crash. I have never heard this. I'm certain most haven't, but like I said, Tim gets special information not privy to the public, as this proves. Well, where is the special information, though? Maybe it was just worded differently by Tim compared to how you might think of it. I don't know. I think we can also all agree that according to Jack, he was asleep during everything that night. Supposedly, maybe. Over and over, we have heard from not only Jack, but also his family and all that support him. He was asleep. We also know that from Jack himself, his phone pinged in the field behind Noah's body at that time. And Jack said that the police mentioned about it being an inaccurate ping, meaning it said he was in the field when he wasn't. Right? Said reception was just so bad out there, the ping was wrong. His phone only, well, one other phone was pinged in that field behind Noah's body. Second phone is unknown to the public as far as I know. But Jack said that that second ping is just a rumour. So who created that rumour? Is it a member of the general public? Why would a member of the general public supposedly know about a second phone or a second ping when actual partygoers who are physically there technically should know more? All the other partygoers' phones pinged right at the party house, exactly where they say they were. Jack's reception was the only one affected. Odd one out. Okay, fair enough. That can be acknowledged. But when it comes to a bad service, a bad signal, could it depend on the quality of your phone, the model as well, the brand, the cell service you're with, etc.? If you got a modern phone, it might perform better. If you got an outdated phone, it may not work as well. I'm going to have to assume that Jack was indeed awake and even present for the side-by-side wreck. We know for a fact, because it came directly from Jack, that his phone pinged by Noah's body during the time of his death. But as said, Jack mentioned his phone pinging over there. He wasn't actually in that spot or location. He could still have been inside of the house when the side-by-side occurred. Does it have to mean that Jack was using his phone and awake at the time, even if he is inside, meaning he lied about being asleep all the time? Not quite. You could rest, you could drop off, you could pass out and sleep, and you might have your phone still in your hand, and the phone might still be turned on or in standby, and it can still be pinging away, whereas you've got apps in the background and the weather service and other apps as well, which require location and so on. So a phone can be turned on, a person could send a message or call, and if you still got the app open, it can say message has been seen, message has been viewed, double ticks, but that person's not responding. Oh, because they're ignoring you? No, it's because they're asleep, they're passed out, they're drunk, they're pissed, whatever it is, and the phone is beside them or in their hand. And maybe after a while the phone will turn off itself or go into standby, and certain apps won't be running anymore, but background apps will, and the pings continue on. Maybe along the lines of that. So, not known by me, but I'm almost certain this fact wasn't disclosed. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Until Tim was so kind to tell me in a comment, Jack Newton's phone didn't ping in 2 different locations, 2 different times by reception mishap. Again, not one other person at that party had any reception mistakes, just Jack. Well, at the party, no reception mistakes from what we know of. We don't know everything. Let's not forget more so the highway area when you had Tyler Hardy at 5:46, Tyler Hardy made his call, first one, and there was just static because of a bad signal. So it's more than Jack that's had issues, okay? One mishap, you could put reasonable doubt in our minds, not 2 times, 2 different locations and 2 different times during the party. Third picture, just ignore the red circle. The relevant part is Tim saying phone pinged during and where the side-by-side wreck was. No. Yeah, the phone pinged supposedly during the side-by-side wreck rollover, but not where, not as in the location. Side-by-side occurred the pasture, which is like the back garden area of the party house. The phone pinged much further north in the field, away from it. So, it's got to be clear. Let's just see some of the comments. Siobhan, another post about Tim. You seem to have touched a nerve or two, Tim. Keep up the good work. Anonymous, another Tim post. Another attempt to drag someone that doesn't agree with you through the mud. Did you need some attention today? You seem to do this every couple of weeks. Last time was Becca, you poor thing. The elderly at nursing homes always need friends and companionship. You should try and get attention there. Oh, there we go. We've got Tim Daniel. Bless your heart, Tracy. I'll give you a hint. Tracy, my name is not Tim Howard. Your sleuthing skills are quite excellent and your attention to detail are exquisite. You're a real crack detective. I'll help you out there here since you are obsessed with me. It's a bit creepy but also flattering. You can find this information right there at the top of this comment, where the names are typically found in case you don't see my name as Tim Daniel. Yes, I get secret information in all true crime Facebook groups I join. I'm related to everyone in all my groups. I'm truly honoured that you made not 1 but 2 posts bashing me. I'm starting to think you have a crush. Unfortunately, I don't swing that way. Perhaps a 3rd or 4th post might drive your point home better. I hope you have the day that you deserve. So the thing is, Tim, some people seem to have an obsession with you, Tim, and from my own individual experience with coming across humans, some people have had obsessions with me as well. And do I find it flattering on sideline? No. Unfortunately, the people that seem to obsess with me are males, and whether they've got a crush or not, I'm not exactly excited about it. I'll put it that way. Oh my goodness. Any more crushes going on? Who knows? Who really knows? Jodie Randall Bennett. Have I seen this person before? I don't know. I don't know if they made a comment about me. It might have been more of a joke. It's hard to remember everybody. Let's just see. Are you jealous of the relationship that Tim has formulated and fostered with these folks? It's so petty. That exactly why it is. I'm extremely jealous. What? I guess they're being a bit sarcastic here. This kind of BS will just not be tolerated. Not on your watch, Jody. Stevie Wonder could see it, but thanks. Right. People are intimidated by you, but I'm not. I had you blocked for like a year because of your bad vibes and your big mouth. Can we disengage now? Big mouths? How many big mouths are there? Why would anyone be intimidated by me unless they were lying? Because I prove that I'm trying to intimidate a soul. I don't speak on anything I can't prove. So it just goes on. I do not let anyone speak to me with disrespect in real life. I'll be damned if letting it happen online. Okay, going on and on. Oh God, we got Laura. Laura Dutton profile picture is of Avery Combs' fluffy pink slipper. Yeah, that's a zoomed in photo, screenshot from Caden Pressey's video of Brylan slapping Noah at 1:05 in the morning. Laura to Tracy, are you jelly? They're still protesting way too much when we have slippers. Oh, the slippers. Don't worry, Jodie, never get past Tracy either. The whole reference to slippers supposedly is to do with an interview. I think it was the one with Donna Bond and Netflix producers having a conversation, audio being recorded in the background, and then Donna released it or released parts of it on her page public. Other people have decided to call it leaked, revealed, hidden, even though it was public in the first place. So it's a bit of a desperate grab, desperate attention in using certain words to make it sound extra shocking. Like people have obtained it secretly when it's public just to get a bit more traction, and that is really it, and some people fall for it as well. Beside that, the context, I believe it was Donna Bond talking about either rumours or not certain type of information, just what she may have heard on and off along the lines of that. I don't know if it was any mention or description from video footage or if it was just from what she's been told. Can't remember personally. Along the lines of, there was people on scene at a certain time, maybe earlier, maybe later, and someone could have been in fluffy, fuzzy slippers, or it could have been just shoes, or trousers, pants. So not certain for sure. It's just a coincidence, of course, because how people can link one thing to another. Avery's in pink fluffy slippers. Mention of pink fluffy slippers at the highway. Is it the same person? Who knows? Is it a coincidence? Or is it just a misunderstanding that it wasn't slippers, it was other shoes? The only reason why I guess it's kind of interesting, at least from what I can think of on the spot, is the girls didn't go down to the highway from my knowledge. It was Jack, Caden, Mikey, Isaac, Brylan, Caleb, Dalen, Victor, and onwards at certain times, right? That were down there. Mainly males. What do we have here? Still going on. I presume you're rambling about Tim again. I've heard of Tim Howard, but you're referencing the current object of your hate. Should tag him. I think he blocked me. I had you blocked for a year because this is the kind of stuff you do. Your last post in this group was to bash Cammy. It's just what you do, I guess. Let's just see what we've got here. Any additional stuff. Michael Facecast. Both Avery and Brylan pinged from what I was told at or close to Noah. Brooke agrees they pinged before 5 in the morning, but not close to Noah. Well, that's interesting. This is the type of stuff I'm looking for, which, you know, stands out. Can't fit it on screen, apologies about that. Maybe if I zoom in, then we can center it to the middle. So a conversation with Brooke Bounce Carter and Michael. Avery, Brylan Sweat pinged at the scene before 5 in the morning, so you might want to talk to them if you really think that they're innocent. I know where Avery pinged and where we've seen it. It didn't ping on Noah's body or close around it. But she was asleep, according to Jack. So, when they were out looking for him, Jack said when he got back, which would have been after 6 in the morning. So who's lying, Jack or Avery? We've seen the pings, neither are. Right, so let's just try and make sense of all of this. Avery and Brylan phones are pinging supposedly at the scene. Okay, that's what Michael is saying here. But where did that actually come from? Where did Michael actually hear it in the first place? The origins of that. Brooke, at least acknowledging that Avery's phone did ping, but just not in that location which Michael suggests or states. Okay. Avery, birthday girl. Before 5 in the morning. What was Avery doing before 5 in the morning, exactly? That's the question. Michael says Avery was asleep, according to Jack. Me personally, I don't remember Jack Newton, at least from what I've seen, stating anything about Avery being asleep. In regard to Carter, well, such as at 4:30 in the morning, which is 30 minutes before this phone pinging at the scene. Granted, Michael says before 5 in the morning, so that could mean 4 in the morning, 4 to 5 in the morning, in between that time period. It's very vague to say before 5 in the morning. You mean 10 minutes beforehand, 15 minutes earlier before it got to 5 in the morning, 20 minutes earlier, 30 minutes earlier? I wonder. At 4:30, that snap, that post of Carter and Logan Jernigan, supposedly after getting back from searching for Noah. When they were out looking for Noah, what Brooke says. The actual timing of when they, the girls, and possibly Texas boys, if they were still there, searching about for Noah, going down the highway so far down to the first sandplank crossing. Is it possible at any of those moments that they had their phones on them, turned on, going down the highway, and hence why certain phones were pinging? And if there was any bad signal, just like how Tyler Hardy experienced later, then maybe it might have pinged in the wrong place. Jack said when he got back, said what? That they were out looking for him? Maybe. Was I aware that Jack Newton was looking for Noah? Well, it's very interesting, this. He got back, which would have been after 6 in the morning. Right. Oh, okay. I think this is separate things. They were looking for Noah. Jack wasn't. That's to my knowledge from what I can remember. Because it was mentioned that Jack Newton either woke up or was woken up at 5:30. Robin Smith, Ashley Chadwick in Partners in True Crime interview corrected that from what Jack said in his interview and said, no, it wasn't 5:30 when he woke up. It was actually 5 in the morning. And Jasmine Millan woke Jack up and informed him about Noah being missing. Right, so based on that, 5:30 or 5 in the morning, it's still after the mention of this event. And it's still after, supposedly, the mention of when they, as in partygoers, were out looking for Noah whilst Jack was still asleep. Because for Noah to walk away at 3:30, to be out so long, to then cause a reason for people to go searching. Interesting. Any reactions or responses by people here? Let's just see the interpretations. What do we have? I'm just going by what I knew, I remembered from Jack Newton himself very early on. Well, lie detector, early days. Isn't it interesting how one of Noah's family members mentioned about Jack passing the polygraph, and in others, and in some articles as well, passing the polygraph. And then it was Kathy Bingham, odd one out, that said it was inconclusive. Isn't it weird how different people directly within the case or within the community get these odd little moments where they appear as the odd one out in what they state? Jack Newton has been the odd one out as well, when he claimed that Noah was found at the highway with one shoe on, one shoe off, and the other shoe was near to Noah's body. And yet the ME report and everything else has officially said Noah was found wearing a pair of mismatched shoes and naked. Sam, who's right there? Michael says to Tracy, I hear you. The fact that there all this inside information going around, including the stuff that I heard, tells you how much a change of venue, recusement of all officials currently involved, and take over by the feds needs to happen. I know the feds can only investigate, prosecute federal crimes, but I feel there have been several that have been violated in Noah's case. You mean like this maybe? Why were you by Noah before 911 or LE? Is that by Laura Dutton, that post or something? Denise. And so they pinged because they were out looking for him, but they didn't ping close to him because they never found him, correct? Well, that seems to make sense what Denise Arnold is getting at there. We'll do a map analysis anyway. Person called June. How many Timpos do you have? Yes, there were several of Noah's friends looking for him. There were also at least 2 people who drove through the area between 4:48 to 5:36 where Noah was found. They did not see him. Wait, how do we know that specific time of 4:48 and 5:36? It would have had to have been specific people then, because at 4:30 in the morning, Carter Combs and Logan Jernigan made it back to the house after searching, supposedly. So, was it different groups and sets of people that went out at different points? That's even more interesting. Individual, smaller, separated search parties. Michael, I think that's what Brooke was saying, yes. In regards to Arnold, yeah. Just two, only because after thinking about the facts, Jack Newton's phone absolutely did ping by Noah's body, the whole reason. But not by Noah's body, behind Noah's body, on the field, and that was supposedly inaccurate. We've got to be careful with the language. Tim informs his ASLO pinged during at the wreck spot. No, it wasn't at the spot, it was at the time of the wreck, but not in the same spot. The ping from him being close to Noah came out very, very early, so it was probably missed, and Tim let the other ping slip before his phone didn't mistakenly ping at the second hot spot. I'm going to be confused with that bit. Jack's ping by Noah was after the 911 call. Right, okay. I think I'm getting this. First ping inaccurate and supposedly claims in the field behind Noah's body near to the highway. The true ping, which is the second ping of Jack, which was an accurate one, was at the actual scene, but it was after the 911 calls by Tyler Hudman at 5:43 and Tyler Hardy at 5:53. Because at 5:53, Jack was still at the party house, texting his father about relocating, meeting at the Warwicker Lake boat ramp and asking for a spare hat to be brought down. So then when Jack did head out, going down the highway, and he realised what was going on there, he stopped, pulled over and had a look and realised what has happened and found Noah, best friend. And then at 6:05 in the morning, made a call to his father about what's happened. So whether it be around 6:05 or a bit onwards, that would show why Jack's phone did ping at the area, at the spot. Let's make a bit more sense there. I'm not sure where you obtained information that no one else's phone mistakenly pinged anywhere, because Ellie has not shared the geofencing publicly. So we have no information on anyone else's phone records. We do have the 911 call by the semi-truck Tyler Hudman driver. That wouldn't connect because of... Oh, hold on. Slight correction there. The 911 call by the semi-truck driver was at 5:43 and was successful. June is getting mixed up with that. It was the Ford F-150 pickup truck driver that couldn't connect to the LE properly because of a bad cell connection. And that was Tyler Hardy. Okay. Jack passed his polygraph confirmed by Robin, and yet Kathy Bingham said it was inconclusive. So why we got different outcomes there? L.E. has not arrested Jack or any other person that attended the late party Sunday night, early Monday morning. OHP has had OSBI, and the FBI has needed to help solve this case. As explained by OHP to Caden, Jack also came forth with his phone information voluntarily. He's not trying to hide anything. Our laws do not work the way some Facebook mob detectives would like them to work. Last time I checked, it's innocent until proven guilty. If Jack has come forth with his phone information and so on, did Caden Pressey, like how Caden says? If police took Jack's phone in or took notes, then why did they not do that with Caden's? Because Caden, some months ago, said police never took his phone. So why do police take one but not the other? If they're all innocent, or if they're all guilty, either way, if one's phone's taken, it should all be taken. The way I remember it was that the 2 or 3 phones pinged in the field just west of where Noah's body lay. Yeah, I did hear it mentioned about west, but it doesn't seem to be implied that by Jack then. The way I remember is the ping was near, and Jack said it's because the service was poor. I remember that part. Oh, we've got Michelle Brummett. That's interesting, considering how many times it's been asked about where the crash happened with no replies. Well, there was an explanation there, as I seem to recall it being said the 2 phones pinged near where Noah was found and was the reason behind Jack taking a polygraph. So many people take statements as facts when it's hearsay. If you open and read the screenshots of the message, you'll see Jack say it was a rumour of 2 phones, that there was just 1 phone that pinged by his body, and that was Jack, stated by himself, but behind, not by, but behind, field. God, we can go round in circles. Tim tried saying the ping by the body was a lie. I think Tim also mentioned, though, that it was inaccurate, the actual ping. That's when he said Jack's pinged whilst Noah's still alive. I don't think he was in the groups when his facts came out there. It's a bit dodgy. I think I'll interpret it myself. Tim kind of clears up here. I was speaking of earlier pings. The later ping was from when Jack arrived at the scene when Tyler Hardy was already there around 6 in the morning, I'm guessing. Well, yeah, it would make sense. Either way, you slice this, your point is that you're trying to insinuate Jack was somehow involved in the staging of Noah simply because he pinged at the roadside along with Tyler Hardy and Tyler Hoodman. If Jack was a suspect, police would have continued to interview him and surely wouldn't have issued a statement that they were not investigating a murder. But you keep trying to make Noah's friends look guilty. I personally think it's a bit disrespectful. The wildest theories get the most traction. Well, the wildest theories like alien abduction, as mentioned by, was it David Paulides, that was trying to advertise his book within the Noah Presgrove case. Does anyone remember that crazy moment? It didn't seem to catch on, but you'd think it would. So, in a way it can be interpreted that based on the text logs and like the timestamps of when Jack was communicating with his father and he was still at the house and he was getting ready to go out for the fishing, to go down the highway to then be not pulled over, but to stop and then realise what's happening, find your dead best friend, then plans cancelled there, things change. It follows an order, and then it would back up the ping of Jack actually being there, but later. I mean, as long as your phones ping at the scene post 911 calls, post death of Noah, then if that's the only time your phone pings after the 911 calls, well then you're not going to be linked to the murder. You're not going to be linked to foul play, because once you're actually there and once you've got there for the first time, for whatever reason that is, providing you didn't know beforehand, and you go on down. Are you going on down to the scene? No. Are you driving on down the highway to somewhere? Probably. Are you stopped by choice or not? Yeah. Maybe you take a look and then you realise what's happened. And then it becomes more important to remain and stay. and maybe use your phone to contact a family member, a friend, a loved one, to tell them the news and when the phones start pinging in that area. So it's a very unusual situation, that, as for these points. What we're looking at on screen right now, there are a lot of times and pings and everything all going on, but we'll break it down bit by bit. First of all, focusing in on the main theme of today's video, where I said, depending on the ping and where it was at and events taking place, how does it impact the case at all or whatsoever? You look at it blindly, quickly, you could assume that, well, if Jack Newton was active with his phone in order for the phone to ping somewhere and at the time of the side-by-side rollover, at least, I don't know if I'm blind, apologies if I am, but from what Jack was saying, I don't remember it being mentioned about it occurring at the same time as the rollover, unless that was in another thread. That's the only bit that stood out to me with Tim Daniels' comment about the timing of the ping associated with the timing of the rollover. That is interesting. But, you know, does that mean, well, if Jack's phone is pinging, it means that Jack is using his phone? Not entirely. Your phone can be left on, you can be asleep. Phone can still ping. That's always possible. But, yeah, first of all, side-by-side rollover, or as people call it, the wreck, whatever time that was, because we don't know the actual time. Caden Pressey said 2:40 in the morning, but that's kind of hard to believe. And you wonder, well, why would Caden say that? Because he was showing a photo or a screenshot from a video and it had that time associated to it. But that time could have been the time of the screenshot when taken on a different day at a different time and not true time to when the actual rollover occurred. There's always that possibility. But beside that, in a different comment, a different messenger, Jack Newton did say that the rollover occurred at the pasture, round the back of the party house. And from the looks of it, there appears to be a fence line in black. So you follow that fence line around, there's kind of an outline of this property and the garden. And whilst the property could include the field as well, if we're talking about where the rollover occurred, the pasture is round the back of the house, specifically in this area, right? Where Jack's phone was pinging incorrectly was behind where Noah was. To be behind can mean on the railway track, but from what Jack said, the field. So it's somewhere over there. I've not put the marker accurately, right? But it's somewhere behind where Noah was to be found later. For Jack's phone to ping anyway, because this is what's important. When the rollover occurred, at that time, Noah Presgrove was still alive. For Jack's phone to ping at the highway or near, as said, behind, going into the field area, even though it's incorrect, the ping, if it was correct, why does it really matter? It doesn't really matter whose phone pings at the scene if it's before it becomes a scene. People have got to be very careful with the language and wording. We talk about this particular spot as the scene, but that's only at a certain point in time onwards, right? Before that, when Noah Presgrove was at the party house, engaging in the side-by-side rollover, engaging with the shower, possible teabagging, eating some food, the bedroom debacle, and then finally at 3:30 walking off. After 3:30, that's when you can regard to this area as the scene. So for Jack's phone to ping anyway, at a time of when Noah was at the party alive, even if Jack's phone was pinging on the highway, it's not directly linking to Noah's death or being present to see the death, because it's actually before Noah walked away, and it's before Noah died, and it's before Noah was found on the highway. So the phone pinged near to the highway and not the scene. The scene only becomes the scene when it's acknowledged by whoever, like the truckers, in finding Noah's body. If you can date trace back the time of when Noah truly died and truly ended up at the highway, then you can regard to it earlier as the scene, but likely it's after 3:30 up to 5:43 once a trucker comes on down and sees it. Okay? Side by side, no time given, but it will be before 3:30, and Jack's pinging at the same time corresponding before 3:30. So it's not that big of a deal, right? The only part which people pick up on and pick away more is, well, the timing of it, of the side-by-side rollover, Jack was supposed to be asleep. Because how the story goes, but based on what Jack had said himself, because he was told by his girlfriend Carter Combs that was asleep or resting in the same bed as Jack, her bedroom, that at some point Noah walked on in to get the side-by-side key or keys, and Jack was asleep. And then the side-by-side rollover occurred. With that taking place, Jack would have been asleep. You didn't know what was going on at the time. He didn't know of the side-by-side. So how can his phone be active and pinging if Jack is asleep? Unless Jack had his phone on, in his hand, beside him, on the table, whilst he was asleep, and the background service apps, the weather app, and so on, was still active, and hence why it pinged, or any notifications that came on through. There's also a very small chance that if Jack's phone was pinging, as in a notification, Carter, the girlfriend, may have picked Jack's phone up just to have a quick look, just to see what the notification was. And then activating it there could have triggered the ping, but by somebody else touching Jack's phone temporarily. There's always that possibility. So that seems to clear that up. And then the only other time where Jack's phone supposedly does ping directly at the scene, which you can call the scene, because by then it is treated as a scene, because then that's when Noah is found at the place. Right now. Now, original marker what I put, 2 phone pings, Jack Newton and question mark. As said, question mark because it wasn't backed up with a full-on fact. And Jack said it was a rumour. It was only 1 phone ping. But technically you can say it's 2 phone pings, as in one is Jack's earlier, which was an inaccurate one. And the second ping was Jack actually at the scene, but at 6 a.m. onwards, when down there for the first time. That would make sense. I'd like to know, at 5:46, when Tyler Hardy was calling, and you had that static call to dispatch, hence why at 5:53, Tyler Hardy had to call back again and was more successful. During that period of a bad signal, if you used to look at Tyler Hardy's phone ping at 5:46, where would it ping at incorrectly? If it happened with Jack, who was at the party house, let's get back to it. If you're at the party house and the phone is being used in some way or in standby and it gives off an inaccurate ping, which is traced down to here, the field area, behind the scene, but at the time relevant, not the scene, but just behind the highway. If that can happen, the same should happen then for Tyler Hardy, based on that. Does anyone else agree? Do we have any other markers that need to be acknowledged down here? This particular one, 4 to 4:30, the search, a cell signal, a ping, possibly. That's more of a question, because it was mentioned that they went down here. Brooke Bounds Carter commented on that. This particular one is a bit of an odd one out, which is heard for the very first time. That member of the general public on Facebook that commented this, we'll take a look a bit later. But the timing of certain moments, key points. 3:30 when Noah Presgrove walks away. It's trying to understand when did phone pings become most active and when there was most movement, and you would think, well, if any search is conducted, that's when that would be the time. At 3:41, Jasmine Millan, the snap, well, Noah's missing. And at 3:41 onwards, a room for concern to go searching, supposedly. Brooke Bounds Carter estimated a search up to 1 hour long, but that was only a rough estimate. I came up with the idea that it might have been only 30 minutes long, for some people at least searching, in order for certain snaps to make sense. For example, the next one being 4:30, when Carter Combs Logan had made it back to the house after going out searching earlier. But at what time did Carter and Logan likely go out in the first place to go searching? Well, for example, from what Caden Pressey had said, it was normal for Noah Presgrove to wander off when drunk and to cool down as well, and to spend 30 minutes away absent and then to return back. Well, 3:30 walks away. 30 minutes later, 4 in the morning. 30 minutes later, Carter Combs Logan return back. So I'm thinking around 4 in the morning, once that 30-minute time period was up of where Caden would say that's normal for Noah to be away, any more time passing on by or close to, people may start wondering, something's a bit off. Maybe we should go search him. So from 4 to 4:30 in the morning, I think that's when Carter Combs and Logan were moving about searching, along with maybe Texas boys or anybody else driving about. I don't know about the other people. I'm not too sure in terms of like search parties and whatnot, how broken up it was and how many different groups were searching about and coming and going and returning. Was it all split up over the course of time? Because then you got the mention, general public, between 4:48 and 5:36 in the morning, 2 people driving through. Driving through as in searching, and how far? Spread out that time. 5:36 in the morning. 5:43 is when the first 911 call was made. So it's very tight and very close. No mention of exactly where 2 people were driving through. 2 vehicles driving through in between that period. Searching specifically, going up and down, and for how long? In between 4:48 and 5:36, or on and off? Were the 2 people driving at the same time, one behind the other, or spread out? And were they party goers or just complete strangers? What is interesting though is in between 4:48 and 5:36, it was mentioned that along the highway, so far down, kind of in between or close to the area of the then to be seen, that some woman was driving down, but she didn't say it herself. It was a friend on Facebook that stated it, which isn't great, and there's not been any updates. A supposed woman driving on down south, going to Terrell Casino to work there as part of a job, and on the way down the highway, out of nowhere at about 5 in the morning, but as some people said, as early as 4:48, ended up seeing a side-by-side zoom by or pull out of nowhere. Because that's interesting, because like as we see here, that person on Facebook that said 4:48 and 5:36. The time 4:48 has already been brought up previously in discussions when tying it to a mystery side-by-side which pulled out of nowhere along the highway and zoomed by another person, which was that woman driving to work going south. So, is it just a coincidence? Or does it link to what's added here? That at 4:48, that side-by-side came out of nowhere, and around the same time, a woman was driving down. Does that make up for the 2 people driving through? As in, they weren't searching for Noah, but they were passing on by one another. Maybe. But if that be the case, it would be between 4:48 and 5 in the morning, not 5:36. I don't know where the 5:36 time has come from. Unless this is something completely different. That there was 2 separate people driving down the highway, and then that side-by-side in between 4:48 to 5 in the morning, and that woman, that was another pair of different people. So what, 4 people in total driving down the highway? To be driving down the highway at 5 in the morning at least, would that woman have passed by the scene if it was to be a scene at 5 in the morning? For Noah to walk away at 3:30, for searches to be conducted from maybe 4 in the morning onwards, and for searches to entail coming down the highway itself, facing north, going up the highway itself, up to, let's say, the first sandplank crossing, as it was mentioned by Brooke, and not finding Noah. Well, as long as partygoers who were searching and all that ended their searches at least at this point, they wouldn't have found Noah, because Noah was further down here. And anywhere in between, beforehand, in between sandplank crossing to the party house, from here, going down east to the highway, coming on down north, upwards to the first sandplank crossing, in between that span of road and dirt road, Noah Presgrove, nowhere to be seen in between there, in between those locations, in between 4 in the morning up to 4:30 at least. Was Noah Presgrove dead by then already? Because if so, he would have already ended up at the highway further on. You know what I'm saying? But as long as the searches ended at this point and did not push any further down the road, there wouldn't have been an opportunity to pass by the scene. But for members of the general public who don't know who Noah Presgrove is and what happened at the time, at 5 in the morning, for example, when that woman, that worker, was driving on down south, she would have gone past the scene. But was Noah at the highway at 5 in the morning? I mean, if 43 minutes later, that's the first official time of when Noah was to be reported dead and on the side of the highway at 5:43. In between what then? 3:30, when Noah was last seen alive walking away east. 3:30 to 5:43. At what time in between that did Noah die and end up on the highway, if at the same time as well? It's kind of a mystery. And you've got to try and break it down, as in who was driving by at the time. Because if you have people driving down south at 5:43 and 5:53, like Tyler Hardy, Tyler Hudman, they were driving down south and they were able to see something in the middle of the road, which was shorts. They were also able to see something on the side of the highway, which they later found out was Noah's body. 43 minutes before the first 911 call. Going back to 5 in the morning, or even 4:48, and you've got a woman driving down south as well. How come she didn't see anything in the middle of the road? How come she didn't see Noah on the side of the highway? How come at 5:43 Tyler Hudman managed, and Tyler Hardy, but 43 minutes earlier that woman did not see Noah or anything whatsoever? What's going on there? Does that mean that Noah Presgrove wasn't at the highway, wasn't dead at 5 in the morning? It was after 5 when Noah died, or after 5 when Noah was placed at the highway, depending on how you look at it. It depends, of course, drivers when they're passing on down and what they're looking for and looking at. There's been mention about traffic. There was no traffic or so. But then why would some person online say on behalf of a friend that this is what this friend ended up coming across, a side-by-side at 4:48 or 5 in the morning, speeding out of nowhere from the side of the highway? What was that side-by-side doing, and what direction was it coming from and going in, and who was really behind the wheel? A weird mystery. So there's different areas you can break it down beside the phone pings. Just the level of traffic. Okay, maybe there was no traffic going past the mini-mart, but there are roads before the mini-mart and before entering the heart of Terrell, which go off down country lanes, dirt roads, back roads going into the town of Terrell, and so on. So you can avoid cameras if you go alternative ways and routes. You'd expect, though, for that woman to be seen on camera at 5 in the morning onwards, for her to be going down to Terrell, the casino, because you've got to go through and past the mini mart, likely, in that direction. It's more practical to be doing that route. And yet, no acknowledgement of that. As said, it wasn't from the horse's mouth that mentioned it, it was a friend, and that friend could have been lying, but what good does that do? It doesn't help, does it? But we've not had a follow-up, not had an update since, not really been talked about as much since, but I thought I'd add it into this whole little search and map analysis. It's actually really interesting, this, because besides the true traffic report, what's been stated, is there an anonymous, is there like a backstory, is there an unofficial, unknown, a mystery of other possible strangers? Because strangers don't have to be directly linked to the case or know of Noah Presgrove. Strangers innocently passing on by. And if anyone did pass on by in between, what time? 3:30 and before 5:43, would they have seen anything similar to how Tyler Hudman and Tyler Hardy saw when driving down the same way, south? How could Tyler Hardy and Hudman see what they saw, and Noah, yet anyone before that couldn't? And how many before 5:43 were actually driving on down this highway and passing by the supposed scene? Because, as said, tracing it back to earlier about Jack's phone pinging behind the scene, behind Noah's body, across in the field. Well, I'll be honest with you, before Tim Daniel mentioned about the detail of the phone pinging incorrectly at the same time as the rollover when Noah was still at the party, then it doesn't make it the scene, does it? When I did earlier on in the case, when I just heard, as said by Jack without the full context, that the phone incorrectly pinged near to where Noah's body was to be found at later, more so. But it wasn't quite worded like that, because no time was given on the actual ping or close to a certain event, just behind Noah's body on the field area. So really, it could have been any time. It could have been the time of Noah's death, could have been the time of when Noah walked away and onwards. But for Tim to say it was at the time of the side-by-side rollover, well, Noah's still at the party. So the soon-to-be seen, that's how it should have been worded as, not the scene, because it wasn't officially that at that time with the rollover event and the phone pinging incorrectly, because Noah was still alive and not here. Got to be careful with the language, and I think that's where some people go wrong on Facebook, and that's why it leads to that drama and conflict and so on. At least up to now, I wasn't aware that Tim Daniel is getting special information like that. The only thing I can say is what Tim said about the timing, roughly, of the false ping. I was never aware that it was during the side-by-side rollover, so if Tim Daniel is able to give a bit of context behind that part, that would be appreciated down below. All in all, hopefully you found the video somewhat interesting and you enjoyed it. Be sure to hit the like button, thumbs up, share the video so more people get to see it. Maybe the initial part of the video of Jack Newton wasn't that big of a deal, but just clarifying, clearing it up was important. And also to highlight there's a difference between being behind the highway and actually being on the highway. And even furthermore, big difference between the timing, as in if it's earlier when Noah was alive, if you're at or near the highway, you are not at the scene, even if you are at the spot, because it hadn't already happened. If it's afterwards and you're there, you are at or near to the scene. And just to clarify, I said in the video when other people may have got mixed up, when it comes to the side-by-side event, and supposedly when Jack's phone was pinging as well, two different spots. One's a field, which is the incorrect phone ping location. Side-by-side is the pasture. Two different spots and types of land, if you want to call it that. Owned by the same people, but different types of land. Back garden and then open field. There is a difference. I do remember on the sideline, Tim Daniel, I believe, was supposed to try and get a screenshot or find a comment made by Gage Jessen when referring to Noah Presgrove when picking him up, and or comment maybe made about Noah being empty-handed, along the lines of something like that. I've remembered, I don't know if Tim Daniel remembers, or if it was another person that inquired or said about Gage Jessen saying this and that, and I said, is it possible to get a screenshot? Just know as a heads up in general for humans, I don't forget. I don't forget. And that can apply in many different ways, okay? And not even just with cases, I just remember. Kind of like with YouTube, communities, people that come and go, familiar faces, familiar names, providing the usernames don't change, I don't forget. It's a positive, of course, okay? But for some people then, when I don't forget, I remember what people have done. I remember people's actions and words, or lack of action. I remember it all. Could be a nightmare to some people, but guess what? It's just because one's more purer and one is more aware and alert, unlike other humans out there. But beside that, when it comes to this case in particular, and the people that watch my channel seem to be pretty good at the moment, even though it's very quiet, it's fine. Hopefully it picks up again. And during these moments where this awareness is spread and clarifying and going back over, it's useful. Because this 4:48 and 5:36 time was never really aware of before. The mention brought in with Michael Facecaz of, was it Brylan or some guy's phone, and Avery's pinging before 5 in the morning as to where exactly, and Brooke is saying, well, it wasn't in that location, it was elsewhere. The mention at least of Avery because of searching or getting back from searching. Okay. These different search parties, it would be interesting to know the timing of when these search parties took place and how they were grouped together and where did they exactly go. Was it all focused on the highway? Did anyone go south? Did anyone go west down to the woodland area? Try looking around the river area? Any alternative searches in the field and beyond? Will we ever know? Not heard of it yet. You thought you would have by now, but I guess time will tell. Sam, with that all being said, we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night for now.